Hello and welcome back to the Essex Allotment farm. For those who don't know me, my name is Alex. This is my commercial market garden where I grow for a CSA veg box service. I do some local chefs and some local farmers markets. Now in this video today I'm going to give you an update on all the seedlings that I've got going on, or all the exciting ones. Some of them are only just appearing out the soil. We'll leave those ones, but anything that's semi-established and started to get its new leaves we'll go through, and then we'll perhaps do another video in a few weeks where I talk about the next succession of seeds. It's pretty miserable today. We're getting some much needed rain, which is great, but yeah, it's fairly miserable, and we're due for some dodgy weather over the next few days, so I'll also show you what I'm doing to protect the seedlings and make sure they don't fall foul of the drop in temperature over the next week or so before proper spring starts. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling, let's jump straight into it and start with the seedlings that I've brought over to the farm and that I'm storing under fleece. So as I said, I've started to bring some seedlings down to the farm. I guess you could use this, say this is hardening off. They've been germinated inside and then either kept in a greenhouse back at home or outside under some kind of protection. But the hardening off is not really a process, it's more now about space and what's hardy enough to come down to the farm and can survive here under a little bit of fleece overnight, so that I can create more space to germinate more seeds in the warmer temperatures back home. So to keep it simple and to keep them all movable or dealable height, I've just put some planks of wood across the top of my compost bins, and I am storing them there, as you'll have seen, under some fleece, and watering them sort of in situ. The great thing about doing this is there's no wasted water when I water them, because all the water's dripping down and keeping my compost at a nice moist temperature. So let's go and have a look at what I've specifically moved over into this area. Right, so let's start in this bottom corner. Really poor germination, but I've not given up on them. And this is a Vates blue, I think it's called blue top kale. As you can see, the germination is really scrappy compared to some of the other stuff. But there's probably 30 or 40 viable plants there, so we won't give up, and we'll keep going with those. By contrast, the Cavallonero looks a lot healthier, has germinated a lot better. There's hardly any cells without anything in, and it won't be too long until they're at the size that I like to plant them out. So there's the contrast already. Sown on the same day, germinated in the same way, lived in the same place for the start of their life, and I can only put it down to poor seed quality with the Vates blue, but the Cavallonero has obviously done a lot better. Second up, or third up, we've got some peas which are called Jessie. I wonder why I chose those ones. This is my second succession of peas. I've got two trays here. Sorry, what I should have said is all my trays are 104 seed cells, so there's 104 cells in each of these. And apart from a little bit of mouse damage back in the polytunnel at home, these have done fairly well. They're nice, short, stocky plants, and again, I've probably got at least 150 viable plants there, or 150 viable cells to plant out in the field in the next couple of weeks. These are a sugar snap variety, I should say. I've got sweet bon or sugar bon up in the field, which I'll show you in a little while. And like I said, these will be my second succession. At the front here we've got cabbage, Rigoa cabbage, a bit younger or a little bit longer to germinate, but they're just starting to get their second or first sets of true leaves, so they're looking nice and healthy. Maybe a tad on the leggy side, but when I replant these I can plant them nice and deep in the soil and that won't be an issue. We've got some purple kohlrabi at the back, again one per cell, a little bit of patchy germination down the front here, but upwards of 80-90 viable plants there, and again just starting to get their first leaves. This is really interesting. I sowed 2 different chard varieties. So you've got March Sunset, I think it's called March Sunset or something Sunset here, 52 cells here, and this one is Ford Hook, and again you can tell that there's different quality of seed across those 2 varieties, even in the same tray. So obviously had exactly the same life. We've only got maybe, I don't know, a handful of viable of the Ford Hook variety, but we've got plenty, albeit leggy, of the Sunset variety. So that's a little bit interesting there. We've got cauliflower at the front here, which is just all year round. Again, a little leggy, but they'll stock up now and put on their first true leaves. Some more purple kohlrabi, which we've already talked about. We've got at the back there the first tray of multi-sown leeks. I've tried to go for about 2 or 3 in each cell. They'll be planted out in bunches like that, and these are my leeks. And then we come to beetroot. So we've got Chigoa beetroot here, multi-sown, 3 or 4 to a cell, and Boldor, which is the golden variety, one of my favourites here. And these are probably my best looking seedlings of the lot. They're short, they're stocky, they're starting to put on their first true leaves. We've had a decent germination rate, and yeah, I'm really happy with those. Last few bits we've got here is my remaining tree cabbage, which you'll have seen in a previous vlog I've already started planting out, and some kaleets, my first lot of kaleets. Again, a little leggy, but they will be planted nice and deep, and they're starting to put on their first true leaves. So they're all the plants that I decided could sort of stomach this very, very, very basic protection of a little bit of horticultural fleece that I just sort of lay over the top of them and just hold down at the sides. And yeah, that's the first of the seedling updates. Now, I was going to give you an update of how the seedlings are getting on in the ground, but that's not really translating through to camera because they're still so tiny. But all I can say is in a couple of vlogs ago, I sowed some lettuce, some rocket, carrots, what else did I do? Radish, turnips, Asian greens. Yeah, I think that's about it. All in direct sown using the yang seeder in the beds in block D, which is the one I'm just walking through now, and the one that I've just shown you, the broad beans and Taunton Dean perennial kale. And they're all starting to germinate, but unfortunately they're still too small to show you exactly how they're looking. However, don't leave me, because we're going to shoot back home and I'll show you some of my more established plants and some of the other seedlings that I've got germinating on in the greenhouses and under lights. Right, so as I said, I've popped back home. I am just dealing with a few bits in the garage unit, but I'll jump outside now. I've got a few minutes to show you the seedlings that I've got going on under lights or in greenhouses, conservatory and stuff like that at home. It's mainly chilies and tomato plants, but let's go and have a look. So we are outside. It's very light drizzle all day today, so I've bought the tomatoes that are inside outside to get some fresh rainwater and be in the breeze to harden up a little bit, and then when the temperature drops this afternoon I will take them back in. These first 2 trays here are a bush variety called now you're gonna have to bear with me, Urbicany. It's a tall bush variety tomato. They're looking pretty good. I have to say I'm not too impressed by this compost. It's very, very woody. I think that seems to be the go-to for replacing peat, but anything's better than peat, I guess. Then we've got another bush variety called Groshovica. We got 1.5 trays of those, so that's 12, 13, 14, 17, 18, 19 plants there, looking relatively healthy. And then we got 2.5 trays of San Marzano, which are a cordon variety, so different to the bush varieties. And again, they're looking pretty healthy. So I've been growing those tomatoes on under lights in this racking, and as I explained, I've taken them outside to get some natural rainwater. What I should say about bush and or bush varieties is I tried a couple of them outside in the field last year, cherry tomato bush variety, and had loads of success with them. So I've tried some more interesting varieties this season, but are doing 50% bush and 50% cordon outside in the field. Hopefully I'll have similar success with the bush varieties this season. While we're in the conservatory, I'll show you the chili plants that I've got sort of ready to go out, but it's way too early, and the other things that I've got growing on, including my second succession of chili plants in the conservatory. So these are my first succession of chili plants. I've just started pinching out the tops of some of them, just purely because they are getting really tall, and I want them to bush out a little bit. I've got Anaheim, jalapeno, and cayenne. No, that's a lie. I've got Anaheim, red cayenne, and orange cayenne. Among these three here, you can see some of them start to split and flower already, which isn't ideal because it's a little bit early. I've got a second succession of chilies growing on in here as well. I've just pricked them out and potted them on. This is a bird's eye Italiano, or Italico, bird's eye Italico. I've got more bird's eye Italico here, another 12 here. And I've got red hot cherry. I've got 36 of those. And then, oh well, there's another bird's eye Italiano back here, so I've actually got 36 bird's eye Italiano and 36 red hot chili. And then down here I've got jalapeno. They're the jalapenos that I mistakenly said earlier. Just 24 jalapenos, and they are putting on their first true leaves. I'll just give you an example of what happens when you pinch them out. So this one I pinched out maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago on the left. These are both orange cayenne peppers, sown at exactly the same time, potted on at the same time, etc, etc. And this is the one that I showed you in the clip a minute ago that is ready to be pinched out. It's quite tall and spindly. It's probably short of exactly the amount of light it needs this time of year, but it's still a fairly strong and sturdy plant. The one on the left is one that's obviously been pinched out, and you can see all the additional leaves and side shoots that it's sending out, and it's really started to bush out, and that's the difference you'll get. I don't necessarily think that converts to more production of chilies. However, because that's so tall, and I want it to focus its energy into stocking out a little bit, and again I think this is due to lack of light, I'm going to pinch out the top of that one as well. So other things that I've got growing on, some Taunton Dean kale cuttings. They'll be for sales coming up, but they're just starting to root and put on fresh leaves, so that means that the cuttings have taken and that they are starting to put on a root system, which is great news. And I've just pulled one out in the tiny pots. They'll need potting on soon enough, but you can see it's putting on fresh leaf growth, and you can start to see that the roots coming out the bottom. So I know that particular cutting has taken. And again, something a little bit different I'm trying for the first time ever, never grown this at all, let alone commercially, is loofah. These are loofah plants, so you might be able to get yourself hands on a Essex Allotment sponge come the end of the summer. Who knows, eh? Let's see how they get on. So I won't give you a full seedling update or seed sowing update in this video, but just because we looked at the tomatoes that I've got growing on so far, this is what I've got in my second session. So we've got tomato honeycomb, we've got tomato blood butcher, tomato brown berry, tomato primamide. I'm so bad at this. I'll put them up in the screen. Tomato Old German and tomato Corey Debut. That's been my full tomato lineup for the season. Right, that is it for this quick seedling update. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry about the pronunciation. I just can't read. I'm terrible. And I'll see you in the next video. Hit the like and subscribe and the bell and all that stuff. Bye bye.